And last but not least, let's not forget another depleting habit, okay? Doom scrolling. All because you're doom scrolling. This thing is totally taking you out of the game, okay? You're busy doom scrolling. You following Big Booty Judy that got 2.1 million followers, and she's consistently twerking, and she's got bikinis on all the time, and she's doing all these stretches in yoga studios but don't know crap about yoga, and you just absolutely liking all her pictures, and you following all these chicks that have all of these accounts that's just showing you nothing but ass. Okay, my recommendation to you, sir, is to get off your computer, get off your cell phone, and start getting yourself to work and build something that's prominent for you.
Try to live well and prosper. Don't trust your doctor. Ruthless with my wordplay. No, I'm not a shotter, but I got them hits, man, coming straight out the barrio. That's why I'm hip hop sicario. I like my privacy. I show out every now and then.
Everyone, and welcome back to the Rolo Runs the City podcast. I am your host, Rolo, and I am grateful to be in front of you guys today for another episode. And of course, this week we're going to talk about how men lose themselves without noticing. But before that, you guys already know the particulars, man. Definitely feel free to hit me up on any of the socials at Rolo Runs the City podcast and at Rolo Runs the City music on both platforms, on Instagram and Facebook, as well as Twitter, formerly known as Twitter, which is now X, at Rolo Runs the City. And of course, you can catch me on any of the streaming platforms, Amazon, Spotify, Apple Music, wherever you get your podcasting at. So like I said, you can hit me up at Rolo Runs the City Music or at Rolo Runs the City Podcast. Either or, you're going to get my content. And let's not forget RoloRunsTheCity.com. All things Rolo that's on there. Definitely feel free to hit me up. But without further ado, I want to dive into this episode, man. This episode, of course, just like all of them, are very near and dear to my heart because I feel like as a man in doing the best that I can to put my message out forward to men that are coming up or even men that have fell off that need to get back on that man train, definitely make sure that you tune into what we're saying because at the end of the day, we're trying to do what we can to push our gender forward. But without further ado, we're gonna go ahead and talk about this this episode here. But and I always say this too, that most men don't crash; they coast until they wake up and they're in an unplanned destination. Okay, and they're at the same job, same routine, not happy at all, and just complacent, you know, and they forget their goals. They say, "Oh, we'll push it off till later on," until it's no longer a thing that's actually in front of them. It's long forgotten. It's just a memory. It was something that, oh, I remember back in the day when I was going to try to do this. I've ran into many of folks that were in that fashion. I remember as a young guy, young buck coming up, trying to put my foot in the music game and whatnot. I'm talking about from selling CDs to even giving out my material for free. And there were always gentlemen out there that were like, "Hey man, good luck with your grind. And, I wish you luck on it. Your music sounds pretty solid." And, truth be told, I remember one of the guys told me, said, "Yeah, man, I was trying to get into it too, but, life hit me and so, I had to go get me a regular job, but, I wish you all the best." And it's not so much that the gentleman quit, but it was the fact that life hit him and he didn't know how to course correct and he couldn't pivot. But for me, to be quite honest with you, it's not so much about giving up on your dreams and getting rid of the goals because life hit you, but you have to do something that brings you some sanity. So what if you're not as big as any of these up and coming artists or whatnot? But you got to understand too, a lot of those folks, unfortunately, they sacrifice their morals to have that fame and vanity. And I don't mean that for everybody because there's some folks that step away from that don't take the offers that they get offered, and Yeah, they may not be in the limelight like that, but at the end of the day, they're morally intact. So for me, I honestly feel like you have a lot of people that were definitely giving up on their dreams because they expected stardom, and that's just not a good route to go. Okay, and you got to understand, man. In life, when you start lacking energy, man, you just start dying. Period. So if you're not feeding yourself the way you need to feed yourself in reference to, okay, I need to feed myself some really good really good focus. To believe it or not, think about how many times that we don't starve our distractions and we should, but we're feeding our distractions and we starve our focus. So you have to really do what you got to do to feed your focus. You have to feed your focus, man. At the end of the day, you can't keep feeding your distractions, and that's something that we do all the time. And you have to think about it, man, when it comes to like drifting off, right? It's not something that's catastrophic. It's subtle until you go numb. And then you're like, damn, like, who am I at this point? And you have to really think about the route that you're going in reference to trying to achieve your dreams, live out your best life, health, wealth, prosperity, happiness, things of that nature. A lot of guys, they end up just going completely numb because they're so used to the mundane task, and it's not productive task that's moving the needle. It's busy work, and busy work gets you absolutely nowhere. It doesn't lead to a life of fulfillment, and it damn sure doesn't lead to anything productive and something that you're going to be revered for and remembered by. That it's just plain and simple. It's non-legacy activity when you're just busy as opposed to being productive. And you guys know what productive is. It means being the best version of yourself that you could possibly be, achieving the greatest health. What are you doing for your community? What are you doing to better yourself? How are you enhancing yourself? What are you going to be remembered by? At the end of the day, they always say, oh, well, in 100 years, none of this is going to matter anyway. And that's absolutely true. But you're here. And if you're living life right, you're going to be here for a long time. Okay. And pain actually hurts a lot longer when you're avoiding the conversations that need to be had, the activities that need to get done. Because man, I'm going to tell you, if you're lucky, you'll last about 70 years. And those 70 years, if you have a fixed mindset, you're going to live miserably. And God is going to give you the pain every day. And hell, you may be getting ready to turn 45 years old and look 60. Okay? Which means by the time you turn 60, you might damn near look 90 and getting ready to drop dead. So my point to you is to make sure that you're living a life of fulfillment, you're trying to better yourself every day, and you're trying to make that 2.0 version of yourself a reality as opposed to something that is an inception through thought. We need to make it through action. But anyway, like I said, the slight decline is absolutely dangerous because it feels safe. And you got to understand what I mean by that. Like, people think like, oh, well, I'm good right here and I'm going to just stay where I'm at. I'm going to rely on the education that I have. I'm going to rely on the training that I have. And that's all to it. And I don't want to learn anymore. This is just how I want to go. Or it could be absolutely your physicality. You could say, oh, well, I was a great athlete in high school and you just gave it up. Okay. And you're no longer the great athlete you used to be in high school. Like, you're advanced in age, you're probably in your 50s, maybe in your 60s. And how long ago high school was for you? You have to really think about that. You have to think about doing what you have to do to stay functional. At the end of the day, when you start getting up there in advanced age, it's not about clanging and banging anymore. It's about actually functional fitness. You want to make sure that you're actually fit for the task at hand. If you want to go on a cruise with, your grandkids or whatnot, and you're trying to get down the stairs onto a boat to go somewhere or go up the stairs. Next thing you know, you're like, oh well, I can't move. I'm immobilized because my knees are jacked up. My hip is, I had a hip replacement done 3 years ago. I can barely walk, and I mean, you're just a mess at that point. You understand what I'm saying? And it's not so much that this is a life that you've chosen by choice, but the choices that you make gives you that life that has been chosen for you. Okay? You understand what I'm saying? Like, you may not have cognitively said, oh, I'm not going to move the needle, but your actions or your lack thereof said, I'm not going to move the needle. So therefore, you're not doing any needle moving activities. Okay? You got a fixed mindset. You're not growing anymore psychologically. Your education is actually stagnant. It's going to be where it's at. It's not going anywhere else. And on top of that, you have to really think about what's going on in reference to you being the better version of yourself. A lot of people think they need therapy. A lot of people think they need to be sedated. And it's not that, man. You don't need medication. You don't need to talk to a therapist. And people are going to say, oh, you're not going to talk to a therapist, but, that's professional. And I get that. I totally get that. But I'm going to tell you this at the end of the day. If you're sitting on somebody's couch or laying down and you're telling them your problems and they're trying to give you the solution to your problems, they're going to give you this seven-step sort of protocol. So then that way you can go ahead and enhance and better yourself. At the end of the day, you have to do the work. And if you're not willing to do the work, it doesn't matter who the hell you see professionally. Like, this is an inside job. Happiness is an inside job. Reconstruction of self is an inside job. If you're not willing to do it, it's not going to happen for you. So it is what it is, man. But anyway, just remember, comfort isn't evil. It just robs you of your potential. Okay? We all want to be comfortable, man. We all want to live the good life. We all want to cruise. We all want to coast. All right. But I'm a firm believer in front loading your life. And then, on the back nine, if you want to go ahead and kind of ease up a little bit, that's fine. Very much in reference to me when I'm running a marathon, I'm trying to haul ass maybe the first 15 to 18 miles. Okay. So then that way on the last 8 miles, I'm not breaking myself so much because I'm like, okay, well, I put myself in a good position where I can actually PR and I'm not hurting myself. I can actually cruise into getting this run done. And that's just kind of like the way that I approach my running. But that's the way a lot of people should be approaching life. And right now, if you're in your 30s, you're in your 40s, you're in your 50s, like my recommendation is start getting after it right now, because at the end of the day, people always say, oh, you should go ahead and party and mess up often in your 20s and act a fool. And no, I don't believe that. I mean, I believe in just living a righteous life. The faster you learn, the better off you're going to be. And I wish that I had somebody to kind of give me their expert tutelage on what not to do and what I should be doing when I was in my late teens and early 20s and hell, even in my mid 30s. I didn't have that, okay? But you have to recognize, okay, there's a problem that needs to be addressed. I need to address this. Like I said all the time, you'll never address a problem if you don't think there is one. So you want to make sure that you be honest with yourself and have the honest conversations, and you can't let comfort just, rob you of your potential. A lot of people are like, oh, I earned this because I did this today. And, I ran a mile. And I'm all for you running a mile, man. If you ran a mile, congratulations. But that does not mean that you should go ahead and buy you a triple meat burger from Wendy's with a big, large Frosty. Like, that's not, that mile that you ran, that little, maybe 130 calories that you burned is not going to equate to maybe that 25 to 2,800 calorie meal that you're about to get from Wendy's, man. So no, you didn't earn this, okay? And you can't have the mentality of, oh, well, I'm doing better than most, because we don't compare ourselves to other people. We compare ourselves to ourselves from yesterday. So if you're lacking from yesterday and you're trying to improve yourself today, that's what you should be proving yourself to. Say, okay, I'm doing better than I did yesterday. Just 1% better, man, and just keep on stacking. That's exactly what you're supposed to be doing. You're not supposed to be trying to compare yourself to anybody else. I'm not going to try to compare myself to anyone. I may have reverence for people and their mentality and how they take care of their business and their entity, whether if it's sports, whether if it's business, entrepreneurship, heck, religiously. Like, who doesn't want to be more in tune with their creator, God, universe, whatever you believe in, right? So we're always striving to get better in every facet of life, not just one. You don't want to be a one trick pony, okay? And you can't have that mentality that you're doing better than most, because I'm going to be honest with you. Back in the day, back in like the mid and late 90s, you already know Jerry Springer was the thing. And then back in the late 90s and early 2000s, Maury was the thing. Like, you can say, oh, well, I'm better than the guy that's, kissing on his cousin, or I'm the guy that's better than I'm better than that guy that just had a baby with his sister. He didn't even realize that they were siblings. And dude, you can't compare yourself to stuff like that. You know what I mean? At the end of the day, people have to run their own race. And you cannot try to tear somebody else's building down so that way you can have the tallest building in the city. At the end of the day, it's a weak play. It's a weak move. Okay? And you have to understand, comfort is like air leak in a tire, right? It's slowly deflating you. And by the time you know it, you're like, damn, I caught a nail on the side of the road. And you have a flat tire and you don't have any way of getting it to a service shop so that way you can get it repaired, Lord willing. You have some roadside assistance coverage and you can go ahead and get it towed. But with that being said, that's what's killing a lot of people, is that they have that comfort and they feel like it's like, oh, it's okay. And it's subtle and it's not noticeable until next thing you know, you have no air. Okay. Like, people are training less and they're saying, oh, well, I'm too busy. But you got enough time to sleep. You got enough time to get to that buffet. You got enough time to go ahead and BS on your phone. So why not go ahead and get you a little 20, 30 minutes? I'm going to tell you like this, it's going to compound over time. Okay? You put your little 30-minute session in about 5 days a week, right? Think about it. It's a couple hours, 2 hours and some change a week. It's better than not doing anything at all. You have 168 hours in a week. You're telling me that you can't dedicate 2 to 2.5 hours a week to your fitness to make sure that you're at least functional, so you can be a functional adult and do what you're supposed to do and execute. So then that way, those people that are depending on you can. Come on, man. We got to do better, right? And unfortunately, people accept mediocrity due to its predictability. And the reason why they do that, it's because what you've done, you've always done, and it's always worked. Not necessarily. What you've done so far is only going to work for that time. In the meantime, because eventually things got to change, and things are going to change. Change is the inevitable. So when they change, you have to pivot. I remember, man, Lord rest his soul, right? I worked with this guy probably about 15 years ago. And, he's gone now. But this guy would not want to change a bit, okay? He was always like, he'd come in, he'd have his same coffee, he would smoke his cigarette, and he would just keep on going. And he would come and he would have the same routine every day. And I would challenge him to do things that were different, and it just made him feel uncomfortable. And basically what I was doing was I wanted to see what his metal was like. I wanted to see what he was made of, okay? And this dude went off on me one day. And I remember the boss got on him. He said, hey, he's not wrong. You need to do this, you need to do this, you need to do that. So he was absolutely pissed off. Like, he just lived stagnant, didn't want to grow, did not want to get better. And it was no surprise that at the age of 59, this guy dropped dead. Okay? He was in hospice. Next thing you know, he was gone. And why? It was because of his mindset, man. He was doing the same things every day, not wanting to grow. Like, dude, I'm a firm believer that when you stop growing, you die. You're dying. That's it. And growth was not his option. He chose otherwise. And next thing you know, I'm like, dude, I should have just gave him the shovel right there and then said, hey, man, why don't you just go bury yourself in the back, because you're going to be dead in about a year. Sure enough, In about a year, he was gone. Like he croaked. He was dead. So with those lessons that I learned, it's not so much about what not to do, but it's about being specific on what you want in your life. And he just knew that he did not want to have any more growth whatsoever, whether if it was going to be becoming better at the job, becoming better with himself, becoming better amongst his peers. He wasn't willing to do that. But I'm gonna tell you like this, like, good enough is settling and then putting it on pause and never pressing play again. And that's exactly what happened with him. He felt like it was good enough. He felt like he had a great secure job. He felt like he was grandfathered in, so he said no matter what, he wasn't going to get fired. So he wasn't worried about it. So he wasn't trying to go above and beyond. And he was just doing the bare minimum. And unfortunately, in life, when you do the bare minimum, you're going to get what you're putting out. It's the laws of reciprocity. Okay? And that's exactly what happened. He was doing the bare minimum. So, needless to say, he's no longer with us. Lord rest his soul. But, it is what it is. Okay? And another thing, too, is you can never confuse gratitude for complacency. And the reason why I say that is because there's a lot of people that may be high achieving, that they may get things misconstrued with other folks because they'll say, oh, well, that person's just settling. They're complacent where they're at. No, like, in order for you to have more, you have to be happy with what you have. If you're waiting till you get that carrot at the end of the stick, then, dude, once you get that carrot, it's a wrap. You're gonna be like, man, is this all that there is to it? That's it? Like, I worked so hard because I didn't enjoy this process. Okay, and I finally got the carrot. Now I don't even want the carrot anymore because I didn't care about the process. I didn't care about the journey. I didn't care about the steps along the way. So right now it has me at a point where I'm just so I'm tired of the fact that I achieved, and once I achieved, I didn't get anything out of it. Well, you didn't get anything out of it because you did not enjoy the process. Whether the process is rough, whether the process is easy, whether you go through pitfalls, whether you go through tiny wins, achievements, no matter what, it's the process. You have to enjoy that. For people, I talked about this with people like waiting till Friday. Oh, can't wait till Friday so I can have the weekend off. Dude, if you're not enjoying Monday through Thursday, okay, because we already know you enjoy the weekend because you're off on the weekend. But if you're not enjoying Monday through Thursday, or if you just work, it was like, oh, well, I just can't wait till 5 o'clock. Dude, you have to be like in it when you are in it. You understand what I'm saying? Like, no matter what you're doing, your head has to be in the game. You cannot be, oh, I'm present, but nobody's really there. No, you have to be self-aware. You have to be involved with the process. You have to enjoy every minute, every second, every millisecond, every hour. I mean, your totality of your 168 hours in a week, you need to be engaged. I'm talking about in sleep. If you're having a great dream, that's fine. If you're not having any dreams, that's okay. The body's recovering, but you do the best that you can to be present. Okay? So that's absolutely important. So don't get complacency mixed with gratitude, because you have to be happy with where you're at. In order for you to achieve more, you have to show the Lord, the powers that be, whatever you believe in, that is like, hey, I'm happy with what I have. And you will stay blessed because you will continue to be a blessing to others. But you'll never be blessed, and you block your blessings all the time if you decide that you're going to say, oh, well, I'm not going to be happy till I get this, or, oh, I cannot wait till Friday. That's not living in gratitude whatsoever. So you have to be grateful for what you're doing. And just because you're grateful for what you have does not mean you're complacent. It just means, hey, I'm happy with what the Lord has blessed me with. Am I ready for more? Absolutely. But I'm not going to shun away the fact of the blessings that he has around me right now. So just keep your moral compass, intact. You know what I mean? And a lot of people, that's another thing too. A lot of people, they don't choose growth until it's too late. And the reason why I say that is because it could be professionally, people deciding not to grow, and then they realize they're just entry level the whole time. and they're getting up there in age, and they have people that are half their age telling them what to do, and they're like, damn, man, I don't think this was the route that I wanted to go. But it was the choice that you made by not furthering yourself because you wanted to have a fixed mindset. Okay. Another thing too, health, right? People are very reactive when it comes to their health. If you know that there's environmental concerns around you, if you know that the food you're consuming is garbage, if you know that you live a sedentary lifestyle, don't wait till you have a freaking heart attack or you're starting to develop cancer or anything to do something about it. Get yourself a damn book, get on Google, whatever the hell you need to do, whatever you want to improve yourself, get on YouTube. There's a channel for everything, okay? And figure out a way that you want to better yourself and start changing, okay? Because that's going to change the trajectory of where you're going. So if you're going to Crapville and you don't want to be in Crapville anymore and you want to be in I Feel Goodville, then go right ahead and do that. You know what I mean? But you're going to have to understand that you're going to no longer be in a situation of control when you're being reactive. If you're being proactive, that's one thing. But reactive, that's not what's going to happen. Things are going to go downhill. It's going to be out of your control. And that's when people want to choose growth when it's absolutely too late. And they say, oh, well, it's never too late. No, it's too late when you're doing stuff like that. Okay? So you got to remember that. And habits always depletes your drive. Okay? That goes without saying, but you guys know this. If you got great habits, it invigorates you. If you have bad habits, it's going to deplete your drive. Point blank, period. Okay? A lot of times people avoid the hard conversations. Even with relationships, your significant other. Dude, your husband's getting a little chubby. You know, let them know and say, hey, man, you've been packing on some weight. You may want to start, going to the gym, working out, get a run in, make sure you get just 10,000 steps, you're drinking enough water. Hey, let's kind of cut back on the sweets. Let's not go out so often. So then that way he could get on top of his game. Because at the end of the day, if you really love your significant other, you want to tell them the hard truth because you want them to be here for as long as you want them to be here. Unless if you're trying to kill your significant other, right? Unless if you're trying to get rid of them, then just let them do what the hell they're doing until they eat themselves alive, But if you really care about your significant other, boyfriend, girlfriend, whatever, husband, wife, whatever you guys want to categorize yourselves as, my recommendation is you got to have those hard conversations. And it's not only to do with health, but also, financially. You want to make sure that you guys are both on the same page. You guys, not one person is frugal, the other one's frivolous, and vice versa. But, if you're both frugal, then you guys are going to reach great heights. And if you're both frivolous, then you guys are going to live in a cardboard box. So you want to make sure that you're doing what you're supposed to do in reference to having those safeguards in place. Okay, you got to have those hard conversations, and that's the most vital safeguard that you can absolutely have is just having honest conversation. Dialogue is important. You want to make sure you do that. Okay, you don't want to skip workouts because a day could become 2 days. 2 days can become 3 days. 3 days can end up becoming a week. Okay. Now, every now and then, don't get me wrong, you're going to run into a hiccup where you're like, damn, wasn't able to get a workout in today. But I'm going to tell you like this. You can knock out 50 push-ups before you go to bed. You could do about 100 crunches before you go to sleep. Okay. You can still drink your water. You can still make sure you stretch. You can do a little yoga. Dude, don't tell me you ain't got a phone because you can sure as hell go on YouTube and you can follow a yoga class for like 10, 15 minutes to just bring some mindfulness to what you're doing. At the end of the day, you're still recovering, you're still recharging, and that's still considered working out. Believe it or not, it is what it is. So make sure you don't stay sedentary, active recovery, doing what you're supposed to do, even when you can't clang and bang that one day. I don't recommend people that are getting too old to be clanging and banging because, you want to make sure you protect your joints. But at the end of the day, I'm not saying that it's impossible. There's people that do it, but they're conditioned to do it because they've been doing it. You cannot go from being a 61-year-old on the couch to saying, oh, I'm going to look like this at the age of 62. That's not going to happen. Okay. You're just off the couch. Now, by the time you're 71, you may be freaking jacked. Right. But Obviously, compounding time, compounding effort, great results. All right. But, you know, men have a habit of staying quiet when they should speak up. I believe that they should speak up. And the reason why I say that they should speak up is because of the fact that we're so used to white knuckling through life. We stay quiet. We always look at complaining as a sign of weakness, which is not a sign of weakness. It's all about being proactive, doing what you're supposed to do in reference to being a man, and make sure that you let your feelings be heard. You don't have to do anything crazy to try to get attention. You just need to speak. It is what it is. And last but not least, let's not forget another depleting habit, okay? Doom scrolling. All because you're doom scrolling. This thing is totally taking you out of the game, okay? You're busy doom scrolling. You following Big Booty Judy that got 2.1 million followers, and she's consistently twerking, and she's got bikinis on all the time, and she's doing all these stretches in yoga studios but don't know crap about yoga, and you just absolutely liking all her pictures, and you following all these chicks that have all of these accounts that's just showing you nothing but ass. Okay, my recommendation to you, sir, is to get off your computer, get off your cell phone, and start getting yourself to work and build something that's prominent for you, because that is not going to cut it. Okay, so let's make sure that we're taking charge of our life as opposed to being a slave and starving the focus so we could feed the distraction. We don't want to do that. Okay, so now, last but not least, this is what it is. What needs to change for you right now? Okay, is it your body? Do you want to get in better shape? Do you want to eat better food? Are you trying to get rid of chronic inflammation? Are you just trying to just be vital? Get up and feel the way you did when you were younger. Whatever your best shape may be, okay? My recommendation for you is to do your proper research. Ask the right questions. So then that way you can get the results that will benefit you, okay? Is your finances, is that something that you need to work on right now? You got to create your budget. You got to figure out how you can make more money. You got to figure out, it's not so much how much you make, but how much you keep. Okay, so even if you work at minimum wage, but you got 4 roommates, okay, and you guys are splitting the bill, and when they're all going out to eat or they're going out to hang out to the club, are you staying at home? Are you trying to build your empire on the side? Everything's by choice, okay? And at the end of the day, do you need to work on your mindset? Do you need to listen to more podcasts? Do you need to read more ebooks? Do you need to develop yourself more and have more grit as opposed to what you have right now? Okay, and that just goes without saying, man. Like, what can you do right now that can actually move the needle and get you moving forward? Okay, another thing too, one task that you've been avoiding, okay, that you know that can move the needle in your life. Okay, what's one task that you've been avoiding that you know that can move the needle in your life? At the end of the day, I'll be honest with you, I know relationships are absolutely important. Okay. Friendships, relationships, if you have a significant other, things of that nature, that's absolutely important. Okay. Are you able to move the needle with that? Because that's absolutely important. My thing is, I'm a firm believer in whoever you're with is going to determine the trajectory of your life. So if you're with a toxic female, chances are things aren't going to be good for you. Okay. If you're with a prominent female, a great figure that's going to push you forward, a woman that's going to be by your side through thick and thin, okay? And that's actually going to get you to where you want to be, okay? But at the end of the day, you have to be ambitious too, because like I said, all of this is an inside job. External factors are good in reference to positivity. But remember, nobody can do the work but you. So let's make sure we keep that in mind. Well, anyway, that is my show for the week, man. And that is also my show for the week. WEAK. Make sure you strengthen up. There's no excuse. You know what I mean? So let's be sure to do what we need to do so that that way we can execute on the highest level. You guys already know my motto, man. And you know how we do it here. Be the goat, never a sheep, and don't sleep on your dreams. I'll see you next week. Peace.